This week, a listener asks how to avoid being stuck paying for expensive first dates that he plans. Should the women he dates volunteer to chip in a few bucks? Or is it his responsibility? And does anything change if there's sex involved during that first date? But first, we all know dating sucks. So why do we all do it? Welcome to the talking phase. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Talking Phase podcast. My name is Tom, and I am joined by my co-host, Pam. Pam, despite the snow here in Utah and moving back home, it kind of starts feeling like home, and it kind of sucks saying that. And we've talked a lot over the last couple of episodes about how bad dating sucks and everything. But, I'm trying to get out there and meet some people organically. Dating apps suck. What's that?
I said, I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, but you know what? Everyone is so jaded. I just don't know how to do it. Went out the other night to a bar called the Prohibition Bar, which is a really cool place here in Salt Lake. They have a blues night on Tuesday, and I'm not a big blues guy, but hey, I thought, what the hell? We'll go out for Blues Day Tuesday is what they call it.
That's fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, but I don't know. I think it just sucks dating sucks, I guess is what I'm saying. And there's not a whole lot that I can do about it. So we'll just have to decide if we continue. So what's going on with you?
Well, first, let me say that I don't think that we ever thought in our 50s that we would be going out to bars and thinking like, here we are standing in a bar, looking around, trying to have eye contact and trying to feel out whether there's somebody that we meet in any bar is somebody that we want to date. I mean, like that feels like it was very much our 20s. And I guess what comes around goes around, and here we are again.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I have been doing a lot of socializing lately. I've been getting out a lot more because Nikki's moving out at the end of the year. I've been forcing myself out of my comfort zone and into a lot more social situations where I'm with friends and there's new people. I belong to a huge social group here in Raleigh called GOAT, which is goofing off around the triangle. And it's got over 10,000 members, and it is a great way to make friends and to meet people. It's not really a dating group, but it is definitely a place where a lot of people who are dating have met. But I've met a lot of really great friends through the group also. But it does seem that predominantly I am swiping. And again, I think a few episodes I named it shit for shit and said I generally only swipe when I'm on the toilet, and it's either TikTok or dating apps. And so I spend, however long in there swiping and, get a few matches and kind of get into that talking phase. And I was going to mention it last week because I was in a talking phase with somebody, but it took a while for that talking phase to actually end up in a first date. And I knew I was going to discuss it in today's episode because I feel like a lot of people are running into the same problem where you're in a talking phase with somebody and you're trying to get as much information as you can, because a lot of times the profile just doesn't give you enough information. You see that the person is attractive or tall and where they live and some of their very broad hobbies. And almost every man says looking for a long-term relationship or casual dating. So that doesn't actually tell me what you're looking for. Those are two very different things. In my case, I guess casual dating can lead to a relationship if you're open to it. So you're trying to find out during the talking phase whether the person you're talking to is actually looking for something serious, because I'm not really interested in hookups or one night stands. And so I'm asking all these questions. And of course, like our episode last week where we talked about being aligned and having similar beliefs, there's a couple things you try to rule out early. And so I try to rule out being on totally opposite ends of the spectrum on important matters during a talking phase, especially if that talking phase is a week to 10 days. And so I'm talking to this gentleman for, I don't know, probably nine or 10 days. And we decided to meet for a drink at a local country club, 5 minutes from my house. So it was easy peasy. I know that he knows where I stand on a lot of issues. And I'm going into this date and I realize that I don't know where he stands because he's been very blasé about answering any questions. But he had a great personality, made me laugh a couple times. Yeah, I
That's
was
good.
enjoying the chat, didn't want to rule it out. He's also from another country. And so being
Oh,
from, I think he was from London, I felt like we were more likely to be aligned, which in hindsight was a really stupid assumption because if we were aligned, he probably would have just said, "Oh, I feel the same way," which he never did say. So I walk into this date and he's sitting outside at a table. There's nobody else out there. He has a group of friends on the other side of the patio. He had just finished golf and we're sitting at a table. He's wearing shorts and a collared shirt because he golfs, so he had to wear a collared shirt and a pair of flip flops that he had changed his shoes. He had taken a shower, and we're sitting there, and we've been sitting for no more than 10 or 15 seconds. I've ordered a drink, and he says, "Tell me why you voted for fill in the blank." And I said, "I told you in our chats that I didn't want to discuss politics on a first date." And he
wow.
said, "Well, I already know, where your head is, but I want to understand why." And so I don't really shy away from things like that. Um, Let me also mention that he was at least 50 pounds heavier than
Hmm.
his picture.
Sure.
And in the picture, he had a full head of hair and he was completely bald. So the pictures had to be at least 10 years old. And I was put off by the fact that I felt like I'd been lied to,
Yeah.
but I was open to a conversation with him. I didn't find him to be unattractive. And so yeah, I listed all of the reasons for my actions. And we're now 10 to 15 minutes into the date. My drink hadn't even come yet. And he leans in and puts his hand on my leg pretty tightly and says
What?
to me, yeah, yeah, what? I was like, holy shit, why does he have his hand on my leg? And he says to me, "I feel really sorry for you." And I said, "Why?" And he said, "Because you can never change the decision that you made and now you have to live with it." And I just sat there and I'm thinking, well, we're in a post-election world. He wants to understand why I make decisions that I make. I thought that he was just looking for good conversation, but
Right.
he got really, really up in my face. And I felt immediately nervous, borderline scared of
Yeah.
this
Thank
guy.
goodness you're in a public place.
Right. And we're on the outside, we're on the patio, and his friends, like I said, are sitting over at the other end of the patio. And to them, it probably looked like he was leaning in to have an intimate moment, which he very much wasn't. Um, And luckily at that moment, his friend said, "Hey," and I can't remember his name, "we have a score." So he had to go back over there and see if he had won the golf match. And I said, "I'm going to go to the bathroom." And I left. I
Good for
went to
you.
the bathroom and I left and I got in my car and I sent him a text and I said, "I've left. We're not a good match. Um, Good luck on your journey," because this is 5 minutes from my home. I'm very likely to see this guy again. um, and he didn't reply right away, but within like 10 minutes after I left, he said, "I agree," with like 6 exclamation points, and then was very offended that I did not pay for the drink that showed up after I left, and said that shows what kind of a person I am, and if it does, then so be it. And so I've been reflecting a lot on this date and thinking to myself, holy shit, I hate dating. And I am not a negative person. And I'm certainly not negative when it comes to the show, but I am in such a bad headspace when it comes to dating. I talked about on the last episode that I was speaking to somebody that I thought was really nice and was a good guy who canceled the date and then closed his profile altogether. So he was probably cheating on somebody. And then the next date I had was with this guy who put his hands on me and got very insulting, very quick, um, and was very angry while he was doing it. And it left me feeling like, is it worth it? Should I still be dating, or is this just something that, after 4 years of being single, it's time for me to bow out and just focus on family and friends and fulfilling myself in other ways, that maybe this ship has sailed.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, I can't remember if I've told this story on this show, but right as COVID was winding down, like, I don't know, about 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago, I met this lady, um, ironically from another country. She was from Brazil. She wasn't from London or anything, but we met at a bar for a drink. Just sounds similar to what, just meeting for your first date. And we had a decent talking phase, and we meet up. We sit down at this table. They seat us at this nice bar, and we order drinks. And she says to me, "Are you vaccinated?" And I said, "Well, yes, I am." And she goes, "Oh, so you're trying to kill yourself?"
Holy cow.
So I dropped $20 on the table and I said, "Hey, nice to meet you." And I left.
Yeah. Well,
Um, it's just like, you know what? We I think as a people, as a species, not just a nation, clearly, because we had two non-Americans that are these
right.
overly political people.
Strong feelings they had,
We
though.
just have to just stop with this bullshit, and let's just can we stop being so extreme on both ends? And anyway, to me that's crazy, and I'm so sorry you had to deal with that.
I appreciate that. And, I haven't had a situation like that ever happen. Um, that's not to say that all of the people I have dated have been respectful, because they have not. But if I sit, and I journal a lot, and if I sit and I write about this and I look back over the 4 years of dating, and, I've had some good relationships, short-term relationships within those years, good enough that they have kept me thinking that I do want to be in a good, solid, long distance. No, whoa, not long distance, a good, solid, long-term relationship with somebody. And
mhm.
so I keep going back out there. But I talk to a lot of people lately who have shut down their apps altogether. And so, that's probably what I will do before I give up on dating altogether. But that does eliminate a lot of people
Yep.
who are not in my social circle or not in my social group. Um, I don't know about you, but like, people are not meeting at the gym or at the grocery store or at the bars. It's exhausting. We have all of these avenues to meet people, and we have all of these people who I believe, if they could be in a really good relationship, they would be in a relationship. But instead of that, everybody's so deflated by dating that they are deciding to be single for the rest of their lives. And we've talked about this in previous episodes, just this epidemic of single forever. And yeah, I think it's because of dating. I think, you know, 25 years ago when I was single and I was dating, it was not like this. It was
Mm-mm.
not so difficult. And I understand I was younger then, but men that I was dating were younger also. So if everybody in their 40s or older that is divorced, that has been married and is not dependent on a man or a woman, but if we're all in the same headspace, we're like, hey, we're doing our best, we're happy, we're socializing, we even have a podcast to talk about it, we're doing our best. Like, is there something that I'm missing, that as far as men are concerned, you know like, men, I look at the comments on TikTok and all of the men are just saying, when I ask them, why aren't you dating? Why do you not want to date anymore? The answers are almost unanimous, that they have been so fucked over by women and they're so hurt and they're so tired of being beaten down and told what to do, that they're just done. And they're
Mhm.
so happy being done that they don't want to date anymore. They don't want a relationship. So I guess it's not a shock that the men that I'm meeting are that 10% that are still looking, but it seems like the majority of men have quit.
Well, I look at it this way, and there are really two questions that we're kind of skirting around. One of them is, why do we hate it so bad, and why do we keep doing it? Um, and I mean, why do we hate it so bad? I think it's the same for men and women. Um, People are liars. Your guy was, what'd you say, bald and fat, um,
Yeah.
and he wasn't in his profile pics apparently.
No. No.
Um, so that, I mean, to me, that's a lie. And people might say, "Oh, well, that's not really lying." Yeah, it is. It is. Um,
I
and
think it is.
and when you meet somebody on an app and they're using excessive filters, um, I don't know if men use filters. I know that a lot of women use like insanely strong filters. I don't know if strong is the right word, but they filter a lot, and so they look
Right.
nothing like it, which forces me, or not forces me, but it encourages me to require, like I've done, a FaceTime call, some
Right.
sort of a video call before, because and people can say, "Oh, well, looks aren't that important." Well, fine, congratulations, date the ugly people.
Oh,
um I mean,
you leave it to you to say that. I
well,
feel
no,
like
but seriously, each and every one of us has to decide if we are willing to date someone we don't find attractive.
right, that's true.
And I'm not. I think physical attraction is important, and someone can call me shallow all they want, and that's fine. But and if you out there listening are willing to date someone you find unattractive, good for you. That's not me. But the fact is, all of us that are out there, not all of us, 99% of us that are out there dating, we want a long-term relationship.
Yeah.
Otherwise, why are we out there? I mean, we could all just go out and hook up, right?
Well, I don't know. I don't think it's that easy for people just to I don't know. I guess it is
But
easy
if
for
we
some people to
wanted
go
to
out.
just hook up, we would just hook up, is what I'm saying.
Right. Right. Or date casually, I mean, uh, you know, uh, the profile and the dating apps, in my opinion, have ruined dating. I think that if we woke up tomorrow and there were no dating apps and people were forced to meet in the wild again, we would find people that we liked 100% more often than we are now at a bar, at a party, through a friend, through a setup, at your job, at the gym, whatever. If you couldn't swipe anymore, I see people in videos. I saw a woman make a video. She was on a date with a guy and she had gone back to his house. And people were very upset with her for that. But the video was him sitting on the couch waiting for her to come back and he was swiping while they were
What?
on the date. Like, clearly he was not happy with how that date is going. Um, but that aside, you talk about ugly versus attractive. I feel like I have met people in real life that were not my type or were not people that I might have been attracted to on a dating app. I might have swiped left, but once I got to know them, I found them attractive because I liked who they were as a person. And even people that I have said, no, I wouldn't be interested in dating them. I have found myself over time becoming interested in dating them as I got to know them. And we lose that on the dating apps because we're just shopping for people. Um, and yeah, I when I say I hate dating, I am really just talking about dating apps because when I have met people through my social group or through a friend or any other way, I have not minded going on a first date. I have been much more excited about the
Hmm.
first date, got the butterflies, trying to look your best. What am I going to wear? Dating app dates, I'm at the point now where I tell everybody that I meet on a dating app, I'm coming from a job, so I'll be wearing jeans and sneakers because I have no desire to spend any time trying to figure out what I should wear on a first date with somebody that I don't feel is invested in the date. For God's sake, you're going to cancel a date an hour or two before and close your profile, or you're literally that guy manipulated me to go on that date knowing that we were so polar opposite
Yeah.
and knowing I believe that he knew his plan was to berate me.
Yeah.
Like he wasn't going to date me. I mean, I think that he was just one of those people who wanted an hour to convince me that I'm an idiot, and I'm not an idiot. And so I bolted as soon as I could, but as a woman, it's not like a guy. I can't drop a 20 on the table. Like I was nervous. He was a big guy. I was nervous. And so I went into like survival mode. Like
Mhm.
this guy's aggressive. He had his hand on me. It was a pretty tight grip. I got in my car and called my daughter immediately and told her what happened. I was shaking. And so we have to be more cautious when
Yeah.
we go on a first date. And so it's hard to find that enjoyment when you're meeting somebody from a dating app.
Well, so to me, and maybe I haven't done a lot of non-dating app dates. So, and I'll tell you, I mean, going out with this friend of mine I've been talking about for the last couple of weeks,
Right.
we've spent a lot of time together. It's really comfortable. I mean, and there's no, you know, I mean, we haven't even held hands. I mean, there's
We're
really,
friends.
yeah, we're friends. There's clearly physical attraction, I think, between both of us, but we're friends right now. We'll just see if and when it ever goes anywhere. And I really am enjoying that because there's no pressure. I'm not doing shit that I wouldn't normally do. I mean, I loved going to Queensrÿche. I loved going to the Fleetwood Mac
Right.
tribute band. Um, believe it or not, tomorrow we're going to some Christmas show thingy. And I would have normally done that in a previous life. So I don't feel like I have to do anything that I wouldn't normally do. Whereas when you're going out on first dates, you're like, oh shit, what is there to do? What can we do that's going to be
Right.
creative and not too expensive? Or, and I find that, everything you do on a date in a non-familiar, let's say that non-familiar dating situation, you're doing shit that you wouldn't normally do. It's usually expensive. It's really time consuming, and bluntly, it's often fattening, which I know is a weird thing to say, but
For you.
it, well, no, I mean, I've actually gained 2 pounds since I moved to Utah, which kind of
Ooh.
I know. But I'm not happy about that. Um, but like you said, everyone fucking lies. Everyone on these dating apps, and it drives me up a wall. If you're, and I've said it before, if your dating app pictures are more than 3 to 6 months old, replace them. Quit lying. You're no longer that person.
But wait, but wait. How can you say everyone lies? Because I don't think I lie on my dating app, and I don't think that you think you lie on your dating app. So you're either saying we're the only two people dating that are honest. Have to be other people that are honest. I
That's
don't believe
true.
for a second that everybody lies. And especially if shame on me for not doing a FaceTime with that guy, but the date was 5 minutes from the house, and I had nothing else to do. And I was like, sure, let's go. So I went. But like we have the tools to keep ourselves from going on a date with somebody that used an old picture if we just FaceTime. I don't, me, I don't love FaceTiming. Um, it's not my thing. I think that I enjoy meeting somebody face to face. I like to see if there's a vibe as well as just do I like this two-dimensional person that I'm talking to on my phone. So I like the vibe of a first date. It's like I'm like an oxymoron right now. I like the vibe of a first date, and yet I fucking hate dating because the vibe is dead lately. It's just I don't know whether it's me or it's not only me, it's definitely them in the circumstances that I've talked about, but it's also partially me because the talking phase is exhausting and I don't really have it in me to even have another talking phase. I want to meet somebody in the real world. It could even be somebody that I'm already friends with, that I enjoy their personality. That's how I want to meet and start to date somebody. But beware of the friend zone, my friend, because
Yes.
I'm here to tell you that, like, once you start to be in the friend zone, it's really hard to get out. And even worse than that, if you get out of the friend zone and you really, really like and enjoy that person and it doesn't work out, you almost always lose that kind of comfort that you have with a friend. I have a very good friend who is a man who I've been friends with for about a year. I've known him for about a year, but over the last month or so, we've become very good friends. Now, luckily for me, he's married. And so there's no fear of this going into anything other than a friend zone. And he is become one of my closest friends recently. And I feel what you're talking about. I feel like we have lunch, we talk about going to the movies. I'm going to party with him on Saturday night. And that's amazing. And so I ask myself, between my girlfriends and my guy friends and my family, is it a big deal if I stop dating? If I stop looking for that person that I believe I have been searching for, that will be great with my friends and family, that will enjoy doing the same things that I do and introduce me to new things, travel, go to Europe together, go to the beach, wake up together. I mean, there's a lot of romantic reasons why I have kept dating this long, but I find myself asking, is it worth the price of
Right.
dating?
Well, and I literally I am moments away. I mean, literally just days away from basically saying, you know what, this I need to come up with a name for her. We'll call her Laura. Um, this friend of mine, Laura, not her real name.
Got it.
Um, she's a great friend, and I have so much fun. I don't have to, I have my 1 bedroom apartment, and I'm perfectly happy here.
Right.
She has her own house. She's perfectly happy there.
And
We're
you don't
about
have a couch.
right, and we're like 20. That was a funny TikTok, by the way, that
Right, I saw
comment.
that.
Um, she, we live 20, 30 minutes apart, so it's not like we're just going to drop in on each other. We're good friends, and having that separation. What was our episode a couple of weeks ago? The
Together. Oh, right.
together
It was
apart or something like that. Um, maybe
together-ish.
maybe this is the thing. Maybe I'm just at
Oh,
the point where I'm
that's a
like,
convert.
I know I enjoy being with her, whether it turns romantic or not. And
Well,
I'm
that wasn't what
almost there.
together-ish. That
I
wasn't
know, I know.
together-ish though. Right.
Oh, I know. But I'm just saying I might be at the point where it's like, whatever. I'm just not, I might not look anymore.
Right. And honestly, in your situation, if I was in your situation and I thought it could become something romantic, but at the same time, I knew that letting it become something romantic means that I'm probably going to sacrifice that friendship unless that person is your person. You know, it's a big trade-off,
It is.
giving up that kind of a friendship, you know, in in the situation where you guys have been friends now for weeks and you have had wow, now it feels like you wrote an email. Um, you have all these opportunities to have it become romantic and it hasn't. And I'm a big believer. I don't know why. I'm a big believer that like that fire is immediate and like it's generally acted on immediately. Like you
Well,
spend a day or two together and you're like making out and you can't keep your hands off each other. And I feel like the further you get away from that, it's almost more awkward to get
yeah.
there.
Well, to be clear, we've been friends for about 10 years.
Oh,
Um,
it's a long time.
and I think I told this story a week or two ago on the show. After Trinity left, we tried to date a couple of times. We went out 2 or 3 times, and it was a full-on date situation. It wasn't just as friends,
Right.
but it was too soon. After the divorce, she was Trinity's friend, blah, blah, blah. So it was just awkward and weird. So I just said, hey, can we just be friends? And she said, yeah, I think that's best. And here we are 5 years later, still friends. It's not like we hang out every weekend. We do now, but it's only been
Right.
2 weeks.
Right. Right. It's
And so
new.
we've become closer friends over these past 2 weeks, and 5 years of water have gone under that bridge. And it's cleared we're both very attracted to each other. So there's definitely the fire there, but I think it comes down to we're both a little bit worried about fucking up the friendship. I think that's really where it comes down to. So we'll just have to see where it goes. But I think, and by the way, having this friendship is what's given me the kick in the ass, maybe, to say I'm not going to go on dates anymore. I'm just going to see where the friendship leads, and if the friendship leads to friendship, I'm still perfectly fine with that.
Well, it sounds like your head is on straight.
Hope so.
And honestly, at this point, like whether it's dating apps or meeting organically or dating our friends, I feel like what's meant to be will be. I feel like the right person who knows me and knows that I'm open to a relationship and that I just haven't found the right person yet will approach me or come around or whatever. But I do think that dating apps have made me feel jaded. And at the
Yeah.
same time, they make for absolutely wonderful content on TikTok.
Yes,
Um,
they do.
so I'm not positive that I would rule out dating apps. I'm going to continue to like peer in there. Not very, I mean, like, let's be honest. I've been single dating again for about 5 or 6 weeks. And I've been on 2 dates. One wasn't worth talking about because it just was not a match. And then there's this one that was worth talking about, but was horrifically not a match. So it's not like I've done a lot of research to say there's no good guys on dating apps. But I will say that if after the next few months, if it's this kind of terrible, I'm just going to take them off my phone and figure that destiny will send the man of my dreams my way, or I am going to just focus on friendships and the people that I care about. And I'm a happy person. So
Yep.
I feel like I don't know that I'm living my best life because I'm still on dating apps. And anybody who's been with us since the beginning knows exactly what I'm saying there. But I'm living pretty close to my best life.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
that's
well,
that's that's really it. So if you hate dating, send us a message on Spotify or email us at talkingphase@gmail.com. And after you follow us on Spotify, rate and review us, or wherever you listen, rate and review us and send us comments because I really enjoy reading the comments on all of these videos. And we get a ton of them on YouTube and not on Spotify. I don't think Apple has a place for comments per episode. But I'm interested to see what you guys feel about dating. Do you hate it too? Or should I just keep chipping away? Eventually the numbers will work in my favor.
you got to kiss a lot of frogs till you find the
God,
prince.
I haven't kissed any frogs this time around.
All right.
You've got mail.
Oh, look at that
Yes.
in the nick of time. Dear Pam and Tom, I met a woman on a dating app. Oh, holy cow. The chat was good. So I asked her out. She's new to the area. So I suggested a bit of a bar crawl. That way I could show her the area. That sounds like a nice date.
Nice.
We started with a late lunch and drinks and moved on to 3 other places.
Wow.
Sounds like a really nice date. At that point, we were enjoying the date and decided to have dinner and play pool.
Wow.
The date lasted 6 hours. And
Holy
get ready.
crap.
It ended up with us in bed.
Oh my gosh. And
Well,
that lasted for 2
I hope
minutes.
he marries her because it sounds perfect.
Yeah.
She's a nice woman, but there wasn't any chemistry, sadly. Well, I wonder what happened in the bed. But
Yeah.
anyway, I digress. We texted the next day and agreed it was fun, but that we're not a match. My problem is this. She did not offer to pay a penny on
Oh.
the date.
Hell.
She has a great career, so she could afford to have bought drinks or around a pool at a minimum, but she offered to pay nothing. I didn't ask her to pay, but also didn't jump to grab the check on this over $150 date. I do find myself feeling angry that I spent so much money. Am I wrong? Any ideas on how to ask a woman to chip in on future dates? Because I'm tired of spending so much money on first dates. And he signed it, the one always stuck with the bill.
Okay, I'm jumping right in here, Pam.
Go for it.
So, Mr. Stuck with the Bill, first off, you end up in bed on a first date.
Shame.
But
Shame.
no shame.
on.
Do whatever you guys want to do. You're mutually, agreeable adults. You do whatever you want to do. I'm good with that. But you end up in bed with someone on a first date and say, A, there's no chemistry. Why the fuck are you in bed on the first date if there's no chemistry?
I'm guessing the sex wasn't good.
Yeah, must be. But why did you hang on for 6 hours without any chemistry? Again, it must have happened during the bed part of this.
Right.
But also, you paid $150 on a first date and you end up in bed and you're bitching? Okay, would you bitch if you had a second date? What if there were chemistry? Are you only bitching because there wasn't any chemistry?
Well, I got the impression that this is somebody who likes to plan dates. I mean, he planned a mini pub crawl to show her the area. So he likes to plan dates. I don't know. I don't know if he would have been mad if he fell in love on that first date. Probably not, because would have been money well spent. Um, I want to so badly say, well, at least you got paid. I mean, neither one of you felt chemistry. You guys both agreed that you didn't feel chemistry and you still went to bed together. So like, yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I can just
everybody.
see these two getting married, and they're sitting there on their 25th anniversary, and he goes, "Hey, you owe me $75 for that first
Couldn't you have
date."
bought a fucking round of drinks?
Hell, you bitch.
Our pool. Yeah. Yeah. First of all, my best advice for him would be like, dude, it's a first date. Like, meet her for a drink. And
One drink.
a drink. And we've talked about this, but there's so much chat about who should pay on these dates. And I'll tell you flat out, when I go on a first date with somebody, I only ever do a very inexpensive date. So it's a cocktail or a lunch date or coffee. I don't do the long first date. I don't want to be stuck. And I always at the end offer, I always say something along the lines of, do you want to go Dutch? And I've only had one person say yes to that. And I made a TikTok about it.
Mhm.
And ironically, I wasn't really feeling it with that guy, but I wasn't 100% sure that I wouldn't go on a second date with him and see if he grew on me, because sometimes you can't tell a lot from a lunch date. But my meal had been like $8, and the waitress came up and said, "Will that be one check or two?" And it got really quiet at the table, and he looked at me, and then he held up two fingers at the waitress. And I think even she was a little bit surprised, and she walked away, and I got up and I went to the bathroom because I was kind of floored that he asked for two checks. And when I came back, he said, I figured he didn't like me because, like, who would make me pay my $8 bill if they wanted a second date? And he said, "I want you to know I had a really great time on this date and I would love to see you again." And I said, "Then why didn't you pay the $8 for the appetizer that I bought?" And he said, "Well, he said, I didn't know what to do." And I just, the whole thing got so awkward for me. And I still to this day, most people when I made that video agreed with me that he should have picked up the tab. But like, it's the first time that's ever happened where somebody didn't pick up the tab. There have been many times where I've been on a first date with somebody and I knew I wasn't going to go on a second date with them. So when the bill came, I would say, "Listen, I don't think we're a good match. So let's just go Dutch," because I don't want anybody to pay my check if I know for a fact that I'm not going to see them again. But in this scenario, with this email, no 6-hour dates. And I don't know. Do I think she should have picked up part of the date? I do. I think that when you go to 3 or 4 or 5 places, at least once you should say, "Let me get this round." I just feel like otherwise you're kind of a leech. Like, I don't know. That
Yeah,
old school, I'm not this old school.
I don't disagree with you, but at the same time, we don't know. We weren't there, obviously, so we don't know. Was she the one saying, "Hey, let's go on to the next one. Let's get dinner. Let's play pool"? I mean, this thing, he planned a little pub crawl that turned into a pub crawl, then dinner, then pool, then sex. I mean,
Right.
there was a lot there, and we don't know how those came about.
Right.
Um, but I will tell you, I look at this and I go, okay, so here's this woman who texted him the next day and agreed that there was no chemistry. Okay.
Right.
So no hard feelings, it seems like, between the two of them. It's like, okay, hey, the only hard feelings is that he's a cheap guy. I was going to say cheap bastard.
Right.
But he's just cheap. And just because
Well, it's an expensive date, so I'm not sure he's cheap.
well, it's an expensive date, but he's the one who planned it. And he got 6 hours of entertainment and sex out of it.
But it's a dating app. It's a dating app. You don't know when you go on a dating app if there's going to be any chemistry. Somewhere along this date,
He
these
could have
two
ended it.
people, like, I think it sounds to me like they both just wanted to get laid,
That's what
or
it
they
feels
were
like to me.
hoping, or they were hoping that the sex would be so good that whatever they weren't feeling during the rest of the date, and that has happened. Like, I have dated people where 2, 3, 4 dates in, I really like them as people, but I just am not feeling it. And then things heat up a little bit, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to stick with this for a while because now I feel a little more romantically connected, so to speak, or whatever. But you go.
I'm going to disagree with you. I know you're shocked that I'm going to give you a counterpoint here, but if you read the email, said, we started with a late lunch, moved on to 3 other places. At that point, we were enjoying the date and decided to have dinner and play pool. So they were having a great time. It seems to me like there was something there.
Yeah.
Then they ended up in bed. And so I think we both said it earlier. The sex must have been really bad.
Yeah. I
I
mean,
think the sex killed the chemistry as opposed to created or enhanced it.
right. Right. No, I mean, like that's all I can come up with. Like, first of all, I've never had a 6-hour first date.
Right.
Second of all, I've never, God, I hate to say this. In all of my years of dating, I've never wanted a first date to go longer than whatever it was intended. Like, I've never hoped that it was gonna go into a second hour or a third hour. I'm always one of those people who I go on the first date. I'm generally at least 50% disappointed by the end of that first date. And I want to go home and process it and figure out whether I'm the problem, they're the problem, whether there's going to be a second date. Half the time, they don't want a second date. I'm not perfect. But in my daughter's case, they went out on an evening date, Nikki and Adam, and they started at one place. Oh no, that was their second date. Their first date, they just had a short drink, but their second date was just intended to be like a get together for a drink or a dinner or something. And it wound up being like a 4 or 5 hour date, a really good date, but she did not go to bed with him. But I do think that like that probably happens. I don't know why that's never happened to me. It's probably I'm the problem. Um, but I would always give people the same advice that especially, it's different if you meet them in real life and you've had a great conversation and then a date is made and it winds up being a 3 or 4 hour date. But if the question we're supposed to be answering here is about money, I do think that even if he asked her out and even if he planned the date, I feel like if you're going to 5 places, like pony up a couple drinks. I don't know. I'm a big believer in men paying the check if they ask you on a date, but like this is an extraordinary date. And so,
Yeah, my advice to whatever he called himself, stuck with the bill or something.
right.
Dude, if you're tired of spending so much money on a first date, then don't plan elaborate first dates. Pretty simple.
Right. Don't ever do that again. Like,
Yeah,
honestly, don't ever do that
lesson
again.
learned, hopefully, dude. If you and by the way, again, I go back to you planned a pub crawl. Should she have picked up one of those 3 bars? Okay, maybe. But then they decided to go to dinner. Again, did she say we should get dinner? Or did he say, hey, I'm having a great time, let's have dinner? I mean,
Right.
we don't know that. And
Right.
so maybe she should have picked up one of those 3 bars, but the rest of it, he planned and agreed to a fairly elaborate first date, which is, hey, don't do it, man. Don't fucking do it ever
I
again.
feel like he would have had to write the email and to have these feelings. He has to have realized that he made a mistake. Um, like, I don't know.
Well,
If
he
the
does
sex
now if
wasn't
he's
good, he
listening.
really made a mistake. Um, but yeah, I mean, this is a no-brainer for me. Short first dates and I don't know, I was going to say unfortunately, but unfortunately or fortunately, times have not changed that much where if you ask a woman out on a date, whatever it is, you have a really good chance that the woman is going to expect you to pay for that date, whether
Mhm.
it's an hour, a drink, a gourmet meal, or a pub crawl. If you ask her out, and a lot of men disagree with this, and a lot of women disagree with this. I have had so many women in comments saying, I always pay my half of the bill. Like, that's a big difference between me. I always offer to pay my half of the bill, but I don't always get stuck paying my half of the bill. 99.9% of the time, the man says, I got it. It's no big deal. And my bill is never more than $15. So I appreciate that. It doesn't mean that there's going to be a second date, but I appreciate that old school train of thought that whoever asks for the date pays for the date.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree
But
100%.
I know times are changing. So I hope that we have helped you at least change your dating habits. And if not, I'm really sorry. It's going to cost you a lot of money. And
Send her
thank
a
you guys.
PayPal invoice.
Yes, send her a request on Venmo or PayPal. Thank you for your emails. We appreciate them. Please keep sending them. The address is talkingphase@gmail.com. I read every single email. I reply to every single email, and I let you know if it's going to be read on the show, so you can listen to this and decide whether we are kind or abusive and whether we have anything good to offer. I think that we offer some pretty sound advice, whether you guys agree with us or not. So please send them in. That's questions. You can ask us any questions. You can comment on our videos on YouTube or Spotify. You can comment directly on the video. I know a lot of you do that, and we reply to all of them. But we read all the emails too. So please send them. Again, it's talkingphase@gmail.com.
You know, what's funny is that while we've been sitting here on this episode, we received an email from one of our longtime listeners, someone named Tanya. I won't give her last name, but Tanya, if you're out there listening to this, she's listened to every episode, she says. So I don't even know what it's
can't
about.
wait to read it. Get out of there. You only get
I
to read it after I do.
I haven't read it. I just saw it pop in on my phone. So
I'm kidding. I
everybody,
look at my phone.
Thanks for listening. As always, please take a minute now and rate and review the show. That really helps us. You know, how do you feel about this cheapskate that isn't willing to pay for the date that he planned? And tell us if you think dating sucks and if it's worth it. Make sure you share the show with your friends and your family, including your married ones, by the way. If nothing else, you're going to show them they need to stay married if they are even remotely happy, because this is, out here sucks. We do this every single Friday. Every Friday we put out a new episode. And also, if you have a few minutes, please follow us on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. And with that, until next Friday, we're out of here. This is Pam and Tom signing off.
Have a great day, everybody. Week, month, and I hope you had a happy Thanksgiving. We'll talk to you soon.
See ya.